There is something people rarely talk about openly. Not everyone has a healthy relationship with their family. In fact, for some people, the very place that was supposed to feel like home becomes the place that causes the most emotional pain. And when someone chooses distance from their own family, society, immediately people ask this question, isn't it? How can you walk away from your own family? But what people rarely ask is the opposite question. They rarely do. The question should be, what must someone go through to reach that particular point, right? Family estrangement is far more common than people actually think. But because of guilt, shame, and social pressure, most people suffer through it very silently. So, in this episode of the Road Talk podcast, I want to talk about something deeply human: healing after family estrangement. Not actually from the place of anger, but from the place of understanding, reflection, and moving forward. Right? So, let's call this episode Healing from Family Estrangement. Alright. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Road Dog podcast. I'm Dr.MUKUND, the Road Dog, as you already know. Today's episode is a little different. It's not about motorcycles, travel, or productivity or any other things, but today we're gonna talk something very deeply about personal, family, or you can say the stories I have heard very recently that they shared their personal family estrangement kind of a situation that they are healing from it and so on and so forth very recently, like literally by the recording of this video it happened like 48 hours before. So it was pretty crazy stories, so that's why, and it was very relevant to this topic, so I would like to share their stories as well. I also got the consent, so yeah, this is basically a topic many people experience but very few openly talk about. As you know, sometimes people who are supposed to support us, guide us, or protect us become the very people we need that distance from them in order for us to grow or survive emotionally. And when that happens, the process of healing is not that simple as we all think. So that's why I want to talk about this topic, particularly family estrangement. What does it actually means, and why it happens, and someone can begin healing from it, and so on and so forth, right? And most importantly, how to move forward without carrying any sort of bitterness, resentment, or revenge kind of a thing. So let's navigate through it. So what is family estrangement in the first place? Family estrangement simply means creating emotional or physical distance from your own family members because the relationship has become very harmful or either unhealthy or impossible to maintain at some point in your life. Sometimes the distance might happen very slowly, sometimes it happens suddenly after years of conflict, and sometimes it happens when a person finally realizes that this relationship is not supportive but controlling, manipulative, or emotionally draining kind of a thing, you know, so on and so forth. Estrangement usually doesn't always mean hatred kind of a thing, to be honest. But yeah, in sometimes you can simply say it like choosing peace over constant conflict. Let's just say that for our own peace. So, why estrangement happens, right? There are many reasons. People become estranged from their own families. It could be due to emotional neglect, it could be control, it could be manipulation, and then what could be? It could also be a financial difficulty that or conflict that reveals what kind of a person their own family members are. So sometimes it happens when someone chooses a life path that their own family doesn't approve of, you know, and instead of supporting that person's independence, the relationship becomes about control rather than care. And that is the reason why, and that's the one of the hardest parts about estrangement in general, is that society or people in general, they don't understand it in a deeper sense, so they just go into superficial ones. Like I said, I have few stories to share as well that I had heard from a recent person I met. So I will also share about that in a while. Accordingly, wait for the story, it's going to be crazy. Let's move on to the next part, the social pressure. Yeah, society has been very kind of a very strong narrative that our family is everything, and while that is actually true for many people, but it's not universally true for everyone. So let's just understand that fact too, because not everyone is blessed with great families. So you need to understand that some families are, loving and supportive, and but some families are also the whole reason for the deep emotional pain. And when someone chooses distance, most people often judge them without understanding the full story. So healing from estrangement basically means learning to let go of that external judgment and focus on your own mental health. Now it's time for the story. Recently, I went to get a new SIM card for my mobile because my primary number was flooded with unknown calls altogether from very recent time. Okay, from almost like 30 to 60 days of given time, unknown calls, spam calls, and so on and so forth. So I went to get a new SIM. Right, there is the funny part. So I went there and I got the new SIM, and the person who is helping me out for getting that uh, came to know my full name, and that I'm a doctor and so on. So okay, now usually we had a conversation, like it started like general suggestions they want, that they have some issue and so on and so forth. So I just gave a simple suggestion saying XYZ, and you need to get some advice from a specialist or some kind of something like that. And then the person started to share some details like history of it. And then the funny part was this: that person is actually good. They're going through ups and downs of life and so on and so forth. The problem is with their own family members that they have prefixed notion of certain thing and lack of understanding that's creating a lot of friction that the person has decided to completely keep their own family members aside and move away from their own family members because their own family members are creating a mental trauma knowingly or unknowingly and affecting that person's mental health in general. So that was a quite long interesting story where every story revealed that I do not want to go into deeper details of the story, but yeah, because the synopsis of story is very simple. Whatever this person says, their family members ignores that. That's the simple synopsis of everything because there are some sensitive information that they shared. They're fine with it on camera to tell it, but it's fine. I'm not gonna reveal the whole story, but I will give you a little synopsis of it. So, yeah, for example, I'll give a brief example. This person got a headache, let's just say hypothetical, and then inform their family, oh, I'm getting frequent headaches, let's go to a doctor and get it done. And they go to a doctor, and unfortunately they might have encountered not so great hospitals or not so satisfactory kind of a thing. And then these family members will be like, you don't have any more headache, doctor, we have medicine, you don't have any problems anymore. And they push the notion, no matter what, you're just acting, you're just pretending, you're just saying a lie. Doctor said or XYZ said you're all good, now you're all good, so on and so forth. I mean, the story is going like that because sometimes it's not about the doctor or it's not about sometimes the diagnosis might not be accurate, so the problem might still exist. But I just gave one example. You can correlate with whatever example you want because I gave the safest example possible on a hypothetical scenario. Okay, but yeah, so you just incorporate that with anything that this person says, this family gonna ignore it. So that's creating emotional kind of pain to this person on a every single day basis. So everything, every decision they have and everything they have, every conversation leading into a conflict every single time. For example, do you want a glass of water? And even with that question, that is leading into some sort of conflict in one way or another. So basically, this is the loop that the family developed towards that person over the period of time. And so what this person decided was to go silent and just leave the house and move away from it for their own mental peace. Just saying. So now you understand how crazy sometimes family can be. So family can be both blessing and also the most painful thing as well. It all depends. So yeah. Next, let's just move on to the emotional phases. Okay. Healing from family estrangement usually goes through like several emotional phases. First, there will be a shock or realization when you understand that relationship cannot continue in the same way. Then comes anger or frustration because you realize the damage has been done. After that, often come grief, grieving the idea of the family relationship you hoped you to have, and finally, over time, comes acceptance and peace. uh, by the way, the peace doesn't actually means the past disappears. It simply means the past no longer controls your future. That's all it means. Understand that, okay? And then this is the thing, rebuilding yourself. One of the most important parts of healing from the family estrangement is rebuilding your own identity outside of the family system. Many people grew up believing their worth is defined by family's approval. But when estrangement happens, you're forced to discover who you really are, independent of that approval. And that process can be painful, but it can also be incredibly empowering on the other way as well. You just need to understand the pain is gonna be there as a part of the growth process, and then slowly you will begin to rebuild your life based on your values, goals, and your vision for the future. These three things, I'm gonna repeat that again. You will begin to rebuild your life based on your values, your goals, your vision for the future. Got it? And what I suggest finally is choosing peace is much better than choosing revenge. Yeah, I think choosing peace instead of revenge is the most best thing that you do it for yourself actually. So that's the another important part of the healing is we need to let go of the desire for validation or revenge in general. Sometimes people want to the family eventually realize their mistakes, that most people expect this, but that realization may never come ever, and you will be still waiting for that day, which might not so great thing to start with in general. So understand that, and that waiting time can keep you emotionally hooked or stuck for very long periods of time as well. So I suggest the real healing begins when you focus on building your own life rather than proving something to others. I think that's the most best or optimal thing to do, according to me. Yeah, and also let's move on to this thing called creating your own support. Yeah, it might sound some kind of difficult task for sure, creating your own support system, right? Because if family doesn't always have to mean biological relatives, isn't it? Sometimes family becomes the people who genuinely support your growth. That can be from friends, mentors, partners, or communities that value who you are actually becoming. Okay, so building that new support system is much better thing for your own journey. So I definitely suggest, if there is a possibility for you to find a good kind of people in your life, then great. But if that doesn't happen, then you should become your own support system. That's going to be a very important step in this kind of a journey. Otherwise, you will just start overthinking everything, and then that can put you in a lot of mental stress again. So yeah, so if someone is watching this episode or listening this episode from your favorite platforms, this is going through, whoever going through family estrangement kind of a situation, I want to say one thing very clearly, that healing is possible, but it definitely takes a lot of time. You need to do a lot of reflection, and sometimes you gotta distance yourself from them as well. But over time, yes, it is definitely possible to build your own life that is peaceful, independent, and meaningful. Your past may shape you, but it does not have to define your future, right? So take your time, and all the very best with your life. So thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in for today's episode, and that's my take on this topic in general. So if you have any person going through this kind of stuff, kindly comment down below. I would like to hear your kind of stories as well, and how you're dealing with it, and also how you, if you already dealt with it, how you dealt with it, how is it going, and so on and so forth. So I would also like to hear your own stories, and how did you overcome this kind of a situation, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so I would like to hear from you too, because if you had any other different kind of solution, I would also hear from you, so that we can help people around to navigate through their lives as well. So yeah, and then yeah, remember, sometimes the road to healing is not about always going back. So maybe it's about moving forward, even without your own family. Anyways, thank you so much. By the way, thank you so much, everyone, because currently we have crossed 30 plus countries officially, and all the platforms, and we are getting a lot of good response. I would like to thank you all from wherever you are listening or watching these episodes. I hope my insights are helpful in one way or another. So thank you so much, and please kindly check out other topics as well, and if you have any suggestions, just let me know in the comment section. I would like to hear from you as well. And like I always, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode, and take care. You'll get through the situations. Take care. Until then, goodbye. I'm Dr. Mukund, the Road Dog, signing off.